There's too many people that don't understand why the government is shut down right now, so I'm gonna try to make this easy. A few months back, they passed something called the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill cut $1 trillion worth of Medicaid funding over the next 10 years. And they're saving that $1 trillion in a couple of different ways. First, they introduce work requirements for able-bodied citizens. This means if you can't prove that you're disabled, then you're required to work to receive Medicaid. You have to prove that you've either worked or volunteered or studied for a minimum of 80 hours a month. That's only 20 hours a week. Second, they made it to where you have to verify your qualification every 6 months. Before the Big Beautiful Bill, people could apply for Medicaid and then just remain on it. But now people are required to re-qualify every 6 months, proving that they put in that time at work or volunteering or studying. But if they'd rather just sit at home and be lazy rather than being a productive member of society while they're perfectly capable of being a productive member of society, then they'll lose their benefits. And that's how it saves the government money for healthcare to be used towards people that actually need it. So that's the first way that the Big Beautiful Bill is working towards saving $1 trillion over the next 10 years. The second way is a little more difficult to explain, and it involves the hospital, the state, and the federal government. But here's a summary of how it works. A patient goes to the hospital, receives their services, and then pays their bill. When the patient pays that bill, they're not only paying the bill, but they're also paying a tax. That tax goes to the state, and the state puts it in a Medicaid fund. Then the federal government matches whatever money was put into that state's Medicaid fund. Then all of the money that was put into that Medicaid fund goes towards funding people who are approved for Medicaid. But in the Big Beautiful Bill, they reduced the amount of money that the federal government is willing to put in the state's funds. Since there's less money coming out of the funds because they've eliminated the people abusing the system, they shouldn't have to put as much into the funds. And since they don't have to put as much into the funds, they don't have to tax the American population as much. But what does any of this have to do with illegal immigrants? See, the Democrats will tell you that illegal immigrants do not qualify for Medicaid in the first place, therefore this has nothing to do with them. However, they conveniently leave out one fact. While it is true that if somebody were to just walk across the border and apply for Medicaid, they would be denied, it's also true that if somebody walked across the border, got caught by an ICE agent, went to a court hearing, was put on parole, and then released back into our society, those people are no longer classified as illegal immigrants, but now they're classified as parolees. And those parolees do qualify for Medicaid. And in just 4 years under the Biden administration, 2.8 million illegal immigrants were put onto that parole status. The Big Beautiful Bill also prevents that. So the next time you see a Democrat telling you that the Big Beautiful Bill left millions of people without Medicaid, just keep in mind that those millions of people were either able-bodied American citizens who were abusing the system or people that came here illegally from other countries. And by removing those millions of people and their millions of medical bills, the government is now saving $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years so that money can go towards American citizens who need the assistance. And the government is shut down right now because the Democrats want to reverse all of that. They want to reinstate that $1.5 trillion worth of spending. But since Donald Trump and the Republicans refuse to do so, because we refuse to pay for the Medicaid of able-bodied American citizens, because we refuse to pay for the Medicaid of somebody who came here illegally and went to court once, the Democrats are refusing to vote for the continuing resolution. Because we won't pay to reinstate the fraud, the Democrats refuse to vote to pay our military men and women. They refuse to vote to pay our federal employees. And honestly, we have way too many federal employees to begin with, so this is another opportunity to save more money. And since the Democrats shut the government down, Donald Trump is now entertaining the idea of terminating some of those federal employees to save more money, as well as terminating certain federally funded organizations that the Democrats appreciate. Democrats say, you don't pay for our fraud, we won't pay to fund the government. Trump says if you won't fund the government, then we won't fund your Democrat programs. And all of that leaves you and me sitting back watching quietly, wondering who's gonna cave in first.